Hey guys, I'm going to start kind of a quick series on a bunch of gear. I'm just going to call it gear dump, and basically what I'm doing is emptying out all my gear from all my bags, completely re-going through everything, trying to be a little more practical, not only going a little more minimalist with a lot of things, but also trying to put better quality gear. So I think as you kind of evolve in your thinking, in your skills, or in your understanding of equipment and gear, eventually you get rid of stuff that you purchased before. So basically I've dumped everything and organized it all into different categories, and that way I can pull through all of it and rebuild all of my gear, so, or my packs or kits. So anyway, I'm going to go through a number of these and show you kind of what I've got, and just whether it's good or not. Here it is, and maybe if you like some of it, you might want to pick some up, or you may not want to buy some of it, depending on what it is. So this is not really a review, it's just showing you what I've purchased, what I like, what I don't like. So anyway, here goes. Okay, so initially I'm going to show you like knives that I bought before I was really into any kind of bushcrafting or camping, before I knew what quality was. So this is when I was younger and thinking what looks cool, and just some cheap stuff that I got. And so here goes. A cheap Survivor brand bayonet for the M16. As far as philosophy of use, the likelihood that anybody would ever need a bayonet is ridiculous. We're no longer in trench warfare or close combat jungle warfare, so it's kind of ridiculous. I got it because it was cool, or I thought it was. So anyway, that's just something that I purchased then, and probably never use it. So a lot of my cheap knives, either I can give away to somebody that doesn't have any until they can afford to get a decent knife. Years ago, 15 years ago, I bought this. Just another cheap Chinese, kind of like a Bud K knife. Just thought it was cool. It is comfortable. What would you use that for? It can't baton. It's probably 440 stainless steel. You know, I don't know what you would do with it. Maybe you would fight a bear with it, but again, philosophy of use versus buying things because you think they look cool. But anyway, that's a knife I got when I was younger, and just thought it was neat, and it's awesome sheath. This is one that I picked up on eBay. I don't know if you can tell, it's kind of a, well, it's Damascus steel, but I don't know if you can see it. Anyway, just kind of a dagger. I never plan on getting in a knife fight, so I wouldn't need a dagger. I suppose you could use that to skin, but if you have a skinning knife, why would you use this? So again, another looks cool kind of purchase. If you're just a country boy that wants a dagger for defense, get attacked in the woods and you can't pull your gun, I don't know. Anyway, that's that. And of course, these cheap, basically $2 survival knives. They're kind of neat. Basically, the only thing I would see actually really using them for, other than what I would use my good knives for, is to take this lashing off and to lash it onto a stick or in between a stick to make a spear. So that's probably all they would be good for, is to make a fishing spear or something. I'm sure you can do light wood processing, nothing big. But anyway, some cheap survival knives. A cheap frost cutlery knife called the Flying Falcon, and this was given to me years ago on a hunting trip. My uncle gave it to me. Bought a bunch of frost cutlery knives, and it's decent. I know I've done a lot of whittling with it and carried it quite a bit. So, okay, cheap knife confession. This is a Tac Force, kind of like a spring-assisted knife. I like this. It's probably a $5 knife, $8 knife. Extremely cheap, cheap steel. Not put together very well, but I like it. I don't know why. Anyway, it's got the window breaker right there, and just another cheap knife from when I was younger. Basically, any pocket knife you can get your hands on when you're young is cool. So this was one that I really liked. No brand or anything, just a made in Pakistan knife. Pretty neat when you're 12, 13, 14, 15. Just a pocket knife. Okay, this should be it for the cheap knives. Who's not a fan of Rambo? Don't watch the movie when you're an adult. It'll ruin it. But if you watched it when you're a kid and you like Rambo, it was awesome. When you watch something when you're an adult, you see how stupid it was, and you don't like it after that. Plus, Sylvester Stallone made millions on gun movies, and now he's coming out against guns. So he tries to make guns look cool, has guns make him look cool, and now he says guns are bad. Anyway, so I got kind of a cheap version of a Rambo knife, and all it says is Defender. I don't know if that's the brand or if that's the model, but just a cheap Rambo knife. Something I don't think I'd get rid of, maybe a wall hanger or something. Another knife I had a trade deal with when I was younger is a Klein Tools knife. I've seen electricians use these, and I don't know if they're non-conductive. It's got a rubber handle, but it does have a steel pommel that I'm sure is connected to the blade, so that wouldn't be necessarily non-conductive if your hand is on the pommel. But anyway, I think Klein Tools are pretty good. That's a Klein Tools DK06. Might be a cool diving knife. This is my Old Hickory per recommendation by Dave Canterbury. Just talking about how good an Old Hickory butcher knife is, and they are pretty decent for 12 bucks. And then my mom gave me later on an older Old Hickory that's been used quite a bit, and an Old Hickory paring knife. I leave those in my camping gear. Knife my brother gave me when I was a kid. I was probably 8 or 10 when he gave me this. Lost it outside for about a year, and the leather shrunk up quite a bit on the handle. That's why it's all pitted, kind of rusted. Anyway, found it again, and he made a sheath for me out of that. So it's too corroded down at the base to know any kind of brand. Maybe somebody would recognize it, but just kind of a skinning knife. As far as skinning knives go, I've got this little fillet knife. It is a Rapala Martini or J Martini fillet knife, and they're made in Finland. You can pick these up at Walmart. They're really sharp, probably the sharpest knife that I've ever had, and they work pretty excellent. A couple of composite knives, or should I say letter openers. Completely composite plastic, and you know what those are for. Stick down in your boot. This is a Bahco knife. It looks a lot like a Mora, almost exactly like a Mora. And I've heard talk that Mora makes Bahco or vice versa. They might be owned by the same company. Bahco added this when I bought my Bahco Laplander saw, so it may be that Mora owns Bahco. But anyway, that's, yeah, I'll take care of some folders. This is the SE Avispa. Don't buy this. Just saying. I've got a review coming up. It'll be a short review. But that's an SE knife, and that is the Avispa model. Really kind of a junky one for the price. This is a Sarge knife. I don't know if any of you have heard that brand before. It's a Chinese brand, but it's pretty decent, especially it's 440 stainless steel, and this is my skinning knife. I've skinned squirrel with it, and it works fairly good. And of course, you gotta love your Cold Steel. This is my Cold Steel Spartan, and the second one I purchased because I liked it so much, and I knew one day I'd beat the tar out of this, which I have, as you can tell, but it still holds an edge just fine, and I'm going to consider that a giant serration. And of course, my EDC knife, Cold Steel Recon 1, and that's the drop point. That's the CTS XHP steel. And probably the most expensive knife that I own is this Benchmade, and I honestly don't know the name of it. Maybe it's called the Seibert Design D2 steel, and this is about a $180 to $220 knife depending on where you get it. I paid $65 for that, and thought that was a pretty good deal at a pawn shop, but really like it. It's comfortable. I like the locking system. Works pretty well. I'll probably never buy another Benchmade just because of the expense versus the quality, when you can get a quality knife from Cold Steel for probably half the cost. Okay, for a neck knife, this is actually a knockoff version of the SE Azula. To be honest, I would not buy a knife this small for that price, and I really don't like buying knockoffs. This is one of two that I've purchased, and basically it's just, to me, and this is just my own opinion, is it's too much money for what you would use it for. You're not going to baton with it, so a cheap knife would work just as well. This was a $5 Chinese knife, 440 stainless steel. I think it's called the Rough Rider, but it's got a 1-inch blade on it, and that's about all I would need for a neck knife, because when you use a neck knife, to me it's just cutting cordage, doing something quick that you don't want to pull out a big 4, 5, 6-inch blade for. But anyway, a cheap knockoff, probably the only or the last knockoff I would ever buy, just because I don't like the concept of putting somebody else's brand on your own and making something really cheap. However, there is another type of knockoff that I would purchase, and I'll show you the knife in a minute, but it's the equivalent of an SE. It doesn't say SE, but it's the same exact design, but it's a SEMA, and Joe Robinette Bushcraft had one of those on and did a review on it, and it was a pretty good one. So as far as knockoffs go, I wouldn't buy something again that has the exact name on it when you know that's not what it is, because it kind of supports that thing. But I would buy something with another brand on it, even though it's probably the exact same style. This is a knife my brother gave me. He got when he was in the military. This is a Camillus military survival knife. Just something that I have carried and sharpened a lot as a kid. I've even lost this one in the woods and found it again. Probably something I've had for nearly 20 years, and it's been really excellent because I've used it in the woods, camping, and doing all kinds of stuff with it, and not knowing how to sharpen a knife. I still didn't destroy it because it's pretty good high carbon steel, And anyway, they're good knives. Definitely one of the original survival knives. My bushcraft knife is this bush knife by Jeff White. You can pick these up from Wilderness Outfitters, Dave Canterbury's website, and it's just a 1095 high carbon steel handmade bushcrafting knife, and a sheath that I put together with some scrap leather my brother had did some tooling on. Okay, so here's the SEMA, which is this is a knockoff brand version of, I think, the SE4, and this is the one Joe Robinette, I think Robinette, maybe Robinette, but I'm going to be a Texan and say Robinette. Anyway, he did a review of these. They held up surprisingly well and extremely comfortable. It's very similar to the Ontario. Of course, SE and Ontario, Ontario made the same knives that SE makes now. SE cleaned them up a little bit, so there's not a whole lot of difference. But SE really made them a lot more comfortable and just made them a little bit better looking. And they sell better sheaths with their knives. But for 20 bucks, you're essentially getting an SE quality knife, and you can get that at gearbest.com. Sheath is decent. It's metal. It's a little bit noisy, but I don't think that would be a problem. And since I showed you the Ontario, here it is. This is the Ontario Rat 7. Pretty good knife. I've done a lot of wood processing with it. Not a whole lot, but I have worked with it quite a bit. It does not baton because of the grind on it. It doesn't baton as good as, say, a Becker would baton. But anyway, it's a good knife. It's strong. It's 1095 high carbon, and it's a good survival knife. Very plain, very simple, but very rugged. That is the Ontario Rat 7, and it comes with a kind of a cheap sheath, but it works. Okay, guys, so the next knife is this Ka-Bar. I can't pronounce the guy's name. It looks like Juarez or Jaraz, but he's a Native American who designed it for Ka-Bar, and I believe he called it the Turok after the old school video game where there was a soldier who was a Native American killing dinosaurs with a knife and bow and arrow. So I believe that was called the Turok. Not used this a whole lot, but I have used it some, and like it so far. And it comes in this sheath here. Okay, this next one is the Cold Steel Bushman. Pretty awesome survival knife. Comes very sharp, just like all cold steel knives. Has a good 90-degree edge for striking ferro rods. It's one complete piece of steel, and it is folded, I'm assuming, welded here, possibly. Or maybe it's just pressed. Anyway, that is done like that so you can carve a stick and use this as a spear. And it has a hole on the side to put a set screw to keep it on the spear, or keep it on the tip of the stick. So, pretty good knife, especially for the price. It's about $20 to $25. And it comes with a plastic sheath, which to me is just as good as a Kydex sheath. I've not had a lot of Kydex sheaths, but anyway, I enjoy this one. And get this one. You can also get one of these with a fabric sheath, but get this one because it comes with a ferro rod, and the other one does not. But they're the same price. The other one was an older version, and this is the sheath that they send out now. So make sure you have this one and not the other one. But that is the Cold Steel Bushman. Next knife is the SCHF 37. This is made by Schrade. This is a beast. It's super thick. It's just a really heavy knife. The handle is comfortable no matter how you hold it, but if you're chopping with this, it actually begins to hurt your hands after a while because the jimping is very abrasive, both on the bottom and on the top there. So at some point I have to get a grinder and grind that down. It rubs your hands raw if you're chopping with it. Not necessarily made to be a chopping knife, but if you're going to work with a knife very much, it's that jimping is really pronounced. And but otherwise, the handle is comfortable. And what's neat about this, even though it comes in kind of a cheap sheath, it also comes with a ferro rod and striker, pretty decent size. And then it comes with the kind of a diamond hone sharpener. So not bad for, I believe it was $29, and it's a pretty good budget survival knife. Alright, getting into some of the large survival knives. This is one I've never seen a review on. I don't know if I would ever do one, just because I don't know if this would stand up to any abuse. But this is a United Cutlery, which I believe puts out the M48 line. And this is a serpentine bowie made by United Cutlery. A full flat grind and a very comfortable handle. It's full tang. You just can't see it. It's covered by the handle. And pretty comfortable. Not sure what kind of steel it is. AUS 8 steel. I've seen that before, but I honestly don't know what it is. Comes with a compass and a sharpener, which I have not put in there right now. Pretty neat for a little chopper. I don't know how it would handle to any kind of major wood processing. And here's the bad boy, the SCHF 43 made by Schrade. This is the Jessica X, designed by Chris Tanner over at Prepared Mind 101. And he basically put a Spartan style handle on it, which is extremely large. I've got big hands, and you can see right there how much room I have left. But basically it's designed so you can choke up for fine tasking, use it as a regular knife, or extend it and have a good chopper. It's pretty much purely a wood processing tool, and it's a beast. If you go to his channel, he's got a number of videos. It's gone through the knife gauntlet, and pretty much after what they've put it through, there's no use in reviewing it because they have taken it as far as it can go, and it is a beast of a knife. Which also brings me to my preferred camping knife or bushcrafting wood processing knife, which is the Becker BK9. Pretty good knife. You're gonna have to either change the scales or put sports tape on it because they're extremely slick. And if you do very much chopping or work with it very much, it's very slick, especially if your hands start sweating. But enjoy the design of this knife. Very comfortable to use. It's big. The sheath I've got set up basically with a ton of cordage, paracord jute twine, lighter, and ferro rod. I think I have a sharpener in there, a D9. But anyway, really like my Becker BK9. Here's my kukri. This is the only one I own. I've owned some in the past, very cheap ones when I was younger. And this is a genuine kukri made in the Philippines. and it is handmade, and I believe it is kukri.com. I'll have to double check that. I'll try to put a link in the description for anybody interested. I saw the video recommendation by George Sprave at the Slingshot channel, and it's a beast. I'm not real fond of the kukri design, but I know it's pretty effective, especially for chopping. They created this for the jungle, carried it over into warfare, the Gurkhas, and so it's a pretty excellent design. It has, this one particularly has somewhat of a Spartan handle. I've got large hands, and I don't know if you can see how thick that steel is. It's way over a 1/4 inch. It's heavy, and I think it would make a great chopper, and it's extremely comfortable. That's not rust on it, that is oil, but that is one of my favorite knives, the kukri.